Welcome back to the unpopular opinion becoming popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and we are discussing the last gate of Hades today. And immediately I will follow up with the current gate. I apologize. Again, it has been a hectic time frame for me personally, so I'm a little behind, but regardless, I find this to be extremely interesting, and it might pinpoint some aspects that have happened for you in the last couple weeks. Starting on November 21st, we moved into the transit called the Gate of Power, Power of the Great, and it filtered through November 27th, and there was some interesting events that have occurred. Obviously, we have a little bit of yin now in our chart. It's not like gate 1 where it's all yang, but we're still seeing this profound I amness coming forward from people and from the universe around us. We had apparently the Schumann resonance, the pulse of the earth stopped briefly for I think it was an hour or so. I don't know if that's the right time frame, but I think it was an hour, and that is considered to be the pulse of the earth. So I've seen some posts where people have claimed that there is like this new wave of being, this download that might have happened. Like certain people really felt it, this kind of limbo aspect and transformative energy happening where they kind of stepped through into a new dimension or whatever. I don't know. I didn't recall that specific thing happening for me. But if you did, I would love to hear about it. Please message me directly or put it in the chat. Because the Schumann resonance, it's always made me a little uneasy. I don't know why. I'm an earth being. I have a lot of earth in my astrology chart and my definition. So I remember feeling sluggish throughout this week. I don't know if it's just getting colder here on the Pacific Northwest or if it's actually like, oh, there was something going on in our universe. Obviously there's so much going on in our universe. We stepped into Sagittarius season, which is very much like coming from the deep waters of Scorpio into the fiery, expansive belief system of a Sagittarius, the kind of fire that keeps us moving through the winter, and having these cylinders firing of our own, what is our beliefs now, coming towards the end of this year, this wood snake year that we're having, which has been so brutally intense, right? We have so much that we have lost throughout this year, that we have shed throughout this year in order to really jump into the next, fiery horse. Well, I think it's the metal horse next year. So we're really starting to see how much we have overcome, how much of our past we have let go. And I will talk more about that throughout this gate information. But we have a lot of planets in retrograde at the same time. So there's a lot rising to the surface. There's a lot that's shedding. And at the same time, we're stepping into these new beliefs, this expansive nature of Sagittarius. And we probably are talking about a lot more ideas, the things that we now want to identify with. And it's coming into this I amness. So we may be speaking as visionaries, well, let's start speaking like I am this, not faking it, but to kind of change the monologue of who we are to who we are becoming. So there is this limbo state in between of, well, I used to be this and now I am this, and how can I create language to reach that future self, that higher self, or whatever you would like to call it. Gate 34, Power of the Great. This is a sacral gate. This is actually one of the most powerful and potent gates in the sacral center. It is the sex drive gate without really having other people a part of it. It's like asexual. So what I like to call it is like, when you work out and you hear some gym bro that's just like, ugh, just like moving around, and it gets a little annoying, obviously, but that's generally this sacral gate. It's the fire, it's the little death aspect that happens individually without like needing a partner to experience it. It's that fire that's coming out of your body. This is the gate that grunts, that growls. It moves energy through 3 different channels. That is why it's the most powered up, pure, solid gold bar of energy. And people who have this gate can be very intense. They can be the bully, they can be the machismo, they can completely annihilate a situation, like shooting a fly with a gun, for no reason. It's just a mechanism that, oh shit, I think it's funny, to me it made sense, but to other people they're like, holy fuck, dude, maybe you should calm down, like this isn't normal. But generally, if you learn having this gate, if you learn to be transforming internally. So this is on the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and the sleeping phoenix we know is going to eventually spontaneously combust and turn into ash, and from the ash comes a new phoenix, right? So this is like that really you have to harness this transformative energy, this pure state of transformation internally, so that you can transform yourself and create the great, whatever is your greatest self, the stature that can lead, that can succeed. Otherwise, you're really starting to burn down your environment. You're starting to burn down these bridges between you and your relationships with others, you and your job position, your career. It's really easy to end these ties because these people are so vocal and expressive. So they're going to definitely sigh or growl or grunt about a situation that's going on, and they can entirely fly off the handle for no reason. So if they externally burn everything down, then their life is going to change. When this process, in order to be the great, it's really meant to be turned inward. So your internal monologue will change. Instead of you burning down your environment, you're burning through these things that no longer serve who you are, this I am concept. So what has happened in the universe during this time. It's very interesting news. I am regurgitating some of this stuff, especially if you know your metal bands. There's a couple bands where things have ended entirely abruptly. We know the band Vitriol, which is hilarious because it's perfect for this gate. This band completely broke up, disbanded. It was very sad for me to process. It's one of my favorite bands. It's a band that really spoke volumes to me when I moved here 5 years ago to Seattle. And the first concert I watched here is actually Vitriol. And they played with like Abysmal Dawn and Archspire and Orator and I think Oxygen Destroyer at Club Sur, like right, I think pre-COVID. So it was a huge time, you know, for me to come into this new setting and transform. And Vitriol has been through its stages of band members, but finally, like, what happened is the lead singer blew up, you know, and they disbanded and completely actually left him at a gas station in Vermont across the country from where he actually lives. And they took the tour bus, they are starting their own band, and it was because of this power, this aggression that came out and completely burned down his opportunity to finish the fucking tour. And that is what's possible here, you know. And this happened exactly around this Gates transit. And on top of that, there was another band that I won't say that I was a huge diehard fan of Arch Enemy, but I am a huge all-time fan of Alyssa Y. Glutz because she inspired me to be a vocalist of metal music, mostly from her project with The Agonist. But they have actually split ties, and she's been a part of Arch Enemy for I think 12 years now, which is a huge change. And we're seeing all these people transform, you know, what's ahead for them. And that's just a little bit of like the actual news. You know, there's plenty of other things that have happened, people flying off the handle, taking it too far. This is all about taking it too far. And especially Gate 34 on its own is incapable of really channeling their voice properly because they have all this compulsiveness. They, you know, have this mechanism, this pulse to do stuff, but they don't really have the awareness to be like, yeah, this is why I did this. This has all this meaning and depth. It's more so like just that tick of like doing something over and over again, sifting through papers, doodling, you know. It's a very personal, individual process of moving around and doing things, particularly mostly aimlessly. And once you can really see this energy for what it's worth, you can start to expand. Especially if you know that you have this gate, you should definitely be aware of these concepts. Like, how have you burned down your environment in the past? How do people actually see you? Do you get told that you're extremely aggressive? Do you get told that, wow, you know, you're actually channeling this power in such a beautiful and graceful way? So definitely think about these things, because a lot of the time these are the people that get seen as too much. And this is part of the integration channels. There is one channel that's connected to the 3410, the channel of exploration, is individual, but the rest of them are integration channels. So the 3410 is the one that goes to the throat. So anyone that has this channel, they're able to use their voice in order to manifest. And the channel of charisma, this one is the one that's filtering for us, and that is hooked up to our identity center. Sorry, I got a little flipped around. I had to make sure I wasn't just talking a bunch of bullshit. It's the opposite. So the channel of exploration is hooked up to our identity center. That's the 3410. That's the individual channel. And then the channel of charisma actually has been filtering for us this entire transit. So that's the one that goes to the throat. And it is the way that we manifest movement through this powerful energy source. So we're going to be saying things that are extremely potent, are extremely powerful. We are going to make shit move in the universe. That is why it's so charismatic. And these people who have the channel of charisma, they're the ones that do things from the place of working on what you love to do. And you have all of the potential to become great if you are staying busy and doing the things that you love. That's the way that these people get recognized for being role models or being great, because they are the ones that are just constantly moving energy, doing the things towards mastery, and other people look at them and they're like, holy shit, this person is really into what they're doing. They're working so hard. That is really fucking inspiring. So they have the ability to be charismatic and great through this process. The only other integration channel that we have is the channel of power, 3457. That one was not in transit, but we have all of this other stuff coming in. I think of this as Tony Stark's arc reactor that's powering up his meat suit. It's the life force energy that is for you specifically. And I want to hear what actually moved for you, what felt like fire, what happened in the universe for you that felt like there was a lot of energy surging and coming in. And I had mentioned the cross of the sleeping phoenix. These people do have to be reborn constantly in life, and that is just typical for them. That is just something that they have to know is a part of their process. They're extremely transformative people, and it's really good to note how your power affects other people. Are you burning down more of your connections in your environment, or are you burning down certain things that don't suit your own internal nature, your individual nature and authenticity? This is Hades holding on to the secrets under the ground in order to really land on top. So that's what tends to happen with this gate too. It's if they don't have substance, and they just hold on to things and hold on to their secrets without sharing the wealth, then it's a total power trip, and they don't really find greatness because it's all monetary or materially just for you. And, people aren't typically inspired with these people in the hierarchy that don't share their wealth. Obviously, we have a ton of politicians, a ton of, people at the top of the game that, are forcing us into these new ages that a lot of people don't have a choice, or they don't feel like they have a choice. We all have a choice. We just have to gather together and talk about these things and remember that you have power. Remember that your voice matters, your opinion matters. This is something I've been telling myself through this period, that, just using these technological tools to share information has been extremely potent. And the more, your community comes through and it's like, yeah, that's actually cool. That's a great idea. How can we make that happen? That's the things that I wish that I had the power to do through my voice, through the manifestation of, what I consider to be equal power for all. And, the flip side is that these people will, use their power, and they kind of tap that button without really feeling satisfied a lot of the time. So you definitely want to find where your satisfaction really resides. More money isn't really going to give you that. Obviously, people that are richer, they feel just as suffocated and stressed out as any of us that don't have as much money, because they're just constantly trying to balance these checkbooks and like all this other stuff as possible. But, then you're paying all these bills, right? So it's never really any different. So what kind of work actually satisfies you in life? So you're not just like, oh yeah, I spent like millions of dollars on this like flower bouquet for my party or something, I think that's another thing that Billie Eilish had explained. I don't know if it was exactly in this transit, but she was like, what are these millionaires actually doing with their money? And she spoke out with power about that. I don't know anything about the celebrities or anything in mainstream music, so I can't say if it's right or wrong, but it was nice to hear that message in general. So yeah, if you're staying really busy and being entirely absorbed in things without even thinking about the external environment, that was good for you in this transit. If you inspired people along the way to do what it is that you were doing, that's another great thing that you achieved during this transit. This channel is also called Where Thoughts Become Deeds. So this is the channel of charisma, is where thoughts become deeds. And this is another thing that you have to tread lightly on and be aware of, because the mind is where we have a lot of gunk. There's totally like too much going on in your mind, and it'll give you images and panic attacks and all this stuff that doesn't need to happen. So you don't want to just speak, without thinking, right? That's extremely difficult for people that have this gate in this channel. So if you speak your mind, without a filter, typically you move energy away from you. You can feel a lot of resistance from people. This is very typical of these people that have this gate naturally. So how are you going to stop yourself from changing your world, changing the worlds of others in a negative way? I definitely have seen some disastrous qualities come through, right? We saw some disbands, some things completely distort and end, and friendships, you know, just stop moving around. So, you know, the key is to respond from your authority, you know, emotional, splenic, sacral. Think, feel, wait to respond, except for when you're splenic. That's a very instantaneous knowing that the body knows what you need to do. But if you're emotional and sacral, get asked the right questions. You know, don't settle for open-ended questions. If you have sacral definition, ask for yes or no questions. If you're emotional, wait to respond, wait till your emotions settle. That's extremely difficult during this transit. So I honor you if you held on to those qualities. And power up what is great for you and how the great would act for success. Rather than blind, roaring emotions coming from the mind. We also had the channel of exploration filter 3410, which is the individual gate. Following your own convictions and loving yourself and loving life enough to trust in your inner beliefs. We're going to see that a lot in Sagittarius season. And the channel of awakening, a design of commitment to higher principles, which is also very Sagittarius. Questions of the week. Have you seen this type of fire come through within people the last week, or for yourself? What has ended? What's going to come from this? Did you think things were going to happen because of you saying things, or did you not expect it? How has energy moved around you? What does the Phoenix signify for you? Do you remember the Harry Potter movie with the Phoenix? That was one of my favorites. Get kind of fanatical with it. You know, what does it signify? Do you think about Phoenix energy at all? How do you stop yourself from being mean or temperamental? What does it take to have awareness before action? Those are really difficult questions for a lot of people. I've seen people extremely temperamental. I think that with the age of individuation, people are becoming a lot more sensitive. So I'm seeing less fire, but there's tons of people that do feel offended with questions. So what is the energy behind that? What's the entity behind that? Why do you want to burn things down right off the bat? That's something that you should revisit in your astrology, in your chart. My partner has Aries in their moon. So that's something that is extremely fiery. It's a fiery quality that, you know, wants to fight before really thinking about what they're saying. So definitely revisit what's going on. There's also the houses that you want to keep in mind. If you have the first house, that's typically a lot more fiery. Let me know your thoughts on that. Degrees are also very important. So, you know, you just want to get some help, you know, and I definitely can help you out Ask me all the questions. If, you know, you're burning shit down constantly, you may want to revisit your chart. Especially you want to revisit your chart and see what other language sources can shift your perspective of what's going on. You know, why do you feel so offended? What brings meaning into your actions? How can you find a reason to do what you're doing instead of monetary gain or status? What's the depth betwixt, underneath, within, you know? That is all for this juicy, crazy, powerful sacral week. Let me know what went down for you. Please share this video, if you will, with someone that can benefit. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you in the next hexagram, the next chapter. Thank you.